Hello and welcome to another week of Christian Ed Online. I am so excited to share this story with you today. Today we're going to be talking about Daniel and the lion's den. But before we get there, I'd like you to join me in singing this song. And so our song for today is called God is Able. And you're going to have a very special part in this. So I'm going to sing a line and then you get to respond with God is able. And it's going to sound like this. God is able. Will you try that? God is able. And then we'll sing a little bit more. And then we'll say together, to deliver me. And it sounds like this. To deliver me. Will you try that with me? Here we go. To deliver me. And we'll sing that back and forth a few times. Then there'll be a second verse. And that time we get to sing, God is moving to empower me. And then the third time, God is with me every step I take. So please join me in singing God is Able. Here we go. In the fire, God is able. In the flood, God is able. In the sea, God is able to deliver me. In the night, God is able. In the light, God is able. In the fight, God is able to deliver me. I'll not fear, God is able now. Not be afraid, God is able now. Stand strong, God is able. I am sure He'll deliver me. This time God is moving to empower me. In the fire, God is moving. In the flood, God is moving. In the sea, God is moving to empower me. In the night, God is moving. In the light, God is moving. In the fight, God is moving to empower me. I'll not fear, God is moving now. Not be afraid, God is moving now. Stand strong, God is moving. I am sure to empower me. This time, God is with me every step I take. In the fire, God is with me. In the flood, God is with me. In the sea, God is with me every step I take. In the night, God is with me. In the light, God is with me. In the fight, God is with me every step I take. I'll not fear, God is with me. I'll not be afraid, God is with me. I'll stand strong, God is with me. I am sure every step I take. Thank you so much for joining me for that song. So our story today is Daniel and the lion's den, and we're reading it again from our Spark Story Bible. Here we go. Daniel loved God. He prayed every day and tried to live as God told him to. Daniel knew that no matter what, God was always with him. Daniel's good friend, King Darius, put Daniel in charge of many things in his kingdom. Some men got very jealous of Daniel and decided to get him in trouble. Heh heh, they thought, we'll get Daniel yet. That must be them over there. The men tricked the king into making a law that everyone had to pray to King Darius and not God. Anyone who broke this law would be placed in a den full of lions. Yikes! Daniel was very afraid of lions, but he prayed to God anyway. Daniel knew that he could get into big trouble. He also knew God would always be with him. Trouble came quickly. The men who tricked King Darius saw Daniel praying. Aha! They said, we got him. Now he won't be the king's favorite. They went to tell the king, King Darius, Daniel is praying to his God instead of you. King Darius looked puzzled. Daniel had always prayed to his God. What was the big deal? Then the men reminded him, you must put Daniel into the lion's den. You made it a law. remember? Oh no! King Darius didn't want to put Daniel in the lion's den. He didn't want Daniel to be hurt, but King Darius had to follow his own law. Daniel was put in with the lions. King Darius said, "I hope your God helps you." He went home and stayed awake all night worrying about Daniel. In the lion's den, it was dark and scary. Lions growled all around Daniel. Daniel prayed, "God, I know you are with me. Please help me." God was with Daniel. At sunrise, King Darius hurried to the lion's den and had it opened. "Daniel," he called, "are you there? Did your God save you?" Daniel answered, "I'm here. God kept the lions from hurting me. God always keeps me safe." King Darius was overjoyed to see his friend. From that day on, King Darius believed in God. Wow, what a story. So in our story today, Daniel knew that even when things got bad and went wrong, that God was always with him. Just because Daniel knew that God was there, though, didn't mean that Daniel wasn't scared or afraid that he was going to be put in the lion's den, or really afraid when he was in the lion's den. Of course he was afraid. I would be afraid, and you would be afraid. But there's a difference, though, when we're afraid and alone, and afraid and know that someone is with us. Think of a scary situation that you have been in. Maybe you woke up in the middle of the night from a scary dream and you were alone in your room. Think of how scary and lonely that feels. But when you go to your mom and dad's room or they come to you to comfort you, you find that your fear doesn't always go away right away, but knowing that they are there in a hug or a snuggle or a smile makes all the difference. God reminds us that even when we are afraid, God is with us, and it feels a lot like that. Right now, kids and adults are staying home to keep each other safe and healthy, and fear is an emotion that all of us have had in the last few weeks. Some of us are lucky enough to live with other people, or maybe have a pet, and we know that even in our fear, that others are with us, including God. But some people aren't as lucky, and they live all by themselves. Or they maybe live in a big building with other people, but aren't able to go and visit them right now. Think of how lonely that might feel if they forget that God is always with them. Sometimes our fear tells us that we are all alone even when we're not. So here's what I'd like you to do this week. Think of somebody that you know that lives alone, and either call them or write them a letter or a card and remind them that not only are you thinking about them and you're there with them, not in person but in spirit, but remind them that God is always there with them too. Sometimes when we get really afraid, it's easy to forget that, and we need good friends and family to remind us. Thank you again for spending this time with me, and don't forget, Jesus loves you, and wash your hands. Bye.